Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation from MachineMetrics. I'm David Lyle, Associate Editor with Modern Machine Shop. The ability to visualize and analyze machine health and production data accelerated critical and actionable bottleneck analysis that led to dramatic increases in machine utilization and OEE with MachineMetrics. In this live webinar interview, MachineMetrics is thrilled to be joined by Michael Wisnefsky, an engineering manager at Mayville Engineering, who leads the organization's implementation of MachineMetrics. Michael will share their digital factory transformation story, including their initial goals, some of the challenges they faced, and how they were able to drive remarkable bottom line impact leveraging the MachineMetrics IoT platform. So today, specifically, we'll look into machine monitoring, downtime reduction, capacity analysis, machine data collection, factory automation, and more. So to fill you in, today our presenter is Graham Immerman, the VP of Marketing for MachineMetrics, and Michael Wisnefsky, the lead engineering manager at Mayville Engineering Company. And they are a leading US-based contract manufacturer that provides a broad range of prototyping, tooling, production, fabrication, coding, assembly, and all of the above. So if you have any questions during this presentation, please go ahead and type them into the question pane on the right side of your screen, and we'll do our best to get to all of them at the end of the webinar. Also, keep in mind that this presentation is being recorded and will be available on our website, mmsonline.com. And for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation, which begins now. And with that, I'll pass this off to Graham and Michael.
Well, thanks, David. It's great to have you with us today, and we are excited to be here for this webinar entitled Machine Monitoring, Driving Bottom Line Impact with Real-Time Visibility and Automation. We couldn't be any more excited to be here with Modern Machine Shop for this exciting webinar featuring our amazing and incredible customer, Mayville Engineering Company. For those of you who've probably heard me on some of these webinars before, my name is Graham Immerman, and I'm the VP of Marketing here at MachineMetrics. I'm going to be your host and moderator for this presentation, but far less important than our exciting special guest who's with us here today. We have Michael Wisnefsky, engineering manager and MachineMetrics superstar of Mayville Engineering Company. Welcome, Michael. Give them a wave. So it's really great to have him here. Just some brief agenda notes and some other little things before we get started. As you are aware, we're going to go through just a brief MachineMetrics presentation to give you guys the heads up if you don't know who we are, a little bit about us. Then we're going to dive right into the main event, which is Michael and his digital transformation journey of their factory floor using MachineMetrics. And then we're going to open up things to a Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, we can answer those at this time. A couple notes, like we had just mentioned, this webinar is going to be recorded. Fear not, have no stress. You will get a recording at the end of this. But we do also highly recommend and even welcome questions. So whether it's through the chat, whether the Q&A, please use those to ask questions at any time. We'll do our best to answer them live. If not, we will get to them at the Q&A section of the presentation. And if we get so many questions that we can't answer them all, we'll be sure to do it through email at the end. We've also added just a couple handouts into the Q&A section, feature a new white paper that we just released entitled Weaving the Machine Data Digital Thread, which is a really interesting read. And we've also just published a new case study featuring our customer, Morgan Olson. I do urge you to check those out, but check them out either like on the side or at the end of the webinar, because we got too much good stuff going on here. Let's get into the a little bit about us section of this presentation. So for those of you that don't know us, we're MachineMetrics. I was actually blessed to be employee number 11 here, and now we're a global manufacturer, a global manufacturing software company, with hundreds of customers and thousands of machines connected to our platform across the globe. And for today's manufacturers, it's really never been more important to deliver the best product as efficiently as possible. And continuous improvement for manufacturers really starts with capturing insights from the heart of these operations, which are specifically the machine assets that make these products and the people that run them. These machines and people are the largest capital expense in most manufacturers. Many of the machines are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. They produce data, nonstop, all day, every day. Yet that data is not being captured or analyzed other than manually to improve efficiency, despite all of the innovations in robotics and automation. But the long story short is that the inefficiencies that exist at this machine level are likely the lowest hanging fruit to driving remarkable value across the organization, as well as the catalyst to driving many future automations. And MachineMetrics has made achieving this value very easy. So we've built like a nuts to bolts, intuitive and flexible machine data platform that allows you to collect, monitor, analyze, and automate data from any piece of manufacturing equipment to deliver powerful, actionable insights and automations for factory workers in a matter of minutes. And that can drive decisions from anywhere at any time that go right to the bottom line, starting from day one. And we have three components of our platform. As you can see, the edge, machine data collection and edge analytics. We've got the data platform. All the data is hosted, stored, and the magic happens. It's analyzed. And then applications and integrations that can work out of the box or be customized to drive use cases and or automations with your factory systems. So like I said, we have thousands of machines connected to our platform today. And we work with companies anywhere from mom and pop job shops to some of the largest manufacturing companies in the world. And these companies are leveraging our plug and play machine data collection, monitoring, analytics to optimize their shop floor productivity, increase their equipment utilization, maximize their capacity and efficiency for their production facilities. How do we do that? Well, the foundation of this platform is just the automated capture and transformation of machine data into a standard structure. Many companies do this manually, which you'll hear about momentarily, and it's inefficient, it's inaccurate, and inactionable. And as just a side note, we're talking about automation, and very few people think about just an automation in regards to just collecting data. But it's one of the foundational elements of automation that can be critical in reducing bottlenecks and actionability when it comes to factory floor efficiency. Now, MachineMetrics makes this really simple. We gather data largely from the control of the machine, where the most critical data lies, which bypasses the need for additional sensors and the complications with installing those to provide a truly scalable solution that can be self-installed by our customers. Last year during COVID, the COVID era, 90% of our new customers were able to install MachineMetrics without us coming on site, which was critical for them to provide remote visibility to their operations, to keep their jobs running and be as lean and efficient as possible. Now, to connect this little box here, which is our customers call the little green box, to a machine or a network of machines, it's easy. You can connect up to 50 machines to one edge device, and it takes just 20 minutes to connect a basic automated manufacturing piece of equipment. So you can essentially get machine data and insights in a matter of minutes. Now, to do what I just said was extremely difficult. We had to develop dozens and dozens of software adapters to unlock all those data points in these machines: internal sensors, machine status, modes, alarms, overrides, loads, feeds, speeds, temperatures, rotary velocities. And to do so, we have to support plug and play connectivity with MT Connect, Fanuc Focus, OPC UA, Umati, Mitsubishi controls, Citizen controls, Heidenhain, Siemens, and more. Right. We also do support the ability to add digital analog I/O to hardware or machines without standard connectivity, or even to add additional sensors to more complex equipment. So every piece of equipment on the factory floor can be plug and play connected, and that data can then exist within our platform. That data is then pushed via Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular to the MachineMetrics data platform, which is designed and warehouse this data. And the MachineMetrics data platform ensures that all that data is gathered and processed and centralized in one location to deliver secure, reliable remote access from anywhere at any time. This is kind of, like I said, where the magic happens. Analytics then identify patterns in the machine performance and the health, which can generate insights. And those insights can then be made actionable through either configurable workflows and notification systems or integrations with other factory systems. But many of our customers require value immediately. out-of-the-box applications deliver use cases that can drive immediate value, real-time dashboards, historical reports, rules-based workflows, text email notification systems. You can also build your own applications or seamlessly integrate the data from MachineMetrics with your current factory systems. And this is a critical component of what we're building here. As you're all aware, operators don't grow on trees. So even if you wanted to democratize data to all your various factory workers, right? You might not be able to if you don't have the right people in place, right? So to unlock the full potential of the digital factory, our platform integrates our insights with all these different other systems, anything from production design to quality to maintenance systems. We have a customer that just integrated MachineMetrics with their upkeep maintenance system, and now is triggering all maintenance activity based on machine runtime instead of a calendar, right? Or alarms or conditions from machines. You can do that with your ERP system also, right? So this is a concept that we call harnessing the machine data digital thread. And in doing so, MachineMetrics becomes far more than just a software system, right? We really become an operating system for a more autonomous factory. And we can be an engine that empowers many, many factory automations. And we're still just in the early stages here of showing what's possible. So speaking of what is possible, great transition there. We are fortunate enough to have Michael here today, who leads engineering at Mayville Engineering. Michael, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, thank you, Graham. Thank you. It's nice to be here. I guess we can pop over to the next slide here.
So we'll go a little interview format. If you're comfortable with it. I'm happy to prompt you here, but first of all, tell us a bit about yourself. Doesn't have to be too personal. Tell me a bit about Mayville Engineering.
Yeah, so my name is Mike Wisnefsky. Work at Mayville Engineering Company as the engineering manager. I work for a group of facilities kind of in the southeast part of Wisconsin. So MEC started in the mid-1950s, I believe, making shot shell reelers in a garage in Mayville. And the business grew to the point where they needed extra equipment, so they bought a building and equipment to fill it in, and then the equipment had extra capacity, so make some money on the side. They started selling that capacity, and that was the start of their contract fabrication business, and that grew to be a $400 to $500 million business today. So we're one of the largest contract manufacturers in the U.S. My facility deals primarily with sheet metal. Although we have other facilities around the country that do sheet metal and tubing. We have 18 facilities nationwide. You can see where they are at www.mechinc.com. And then we serve a variety of industries. Big customers here would be Oshkosh, Mercury Marine, Harley Davidson, Polaris. You get to northern Wisconsin or outside Wisconsin, we start getting a lot more into Volvo or Navistar, Cat. John Deere is very big, kind of everywhere for us. But we do a lot of different processes. Primarily here, we're working with lasers, brake press, machining, spot welding, arc welding, paint, and assembly. So kind of a sheet metal start to finish.
Nice. And with that type of growth, Michael, which is amazing, by the way, what we found is that many companies, right, have growing pains, or not even growing pains, but their requirements change, right?
Yep.
Tell us a bit, and maybe that's how you found MachineMetrics, but what kind of led you to this, to this place? Was there a specific goal that you'd hope to achieve?
So I mean, every manufacturer's engineering group is always being told, we need to figure out how to improve, how to get more out with less. How do we increase uptime? How do we increase throughput, decrease costs, decrease headcounts? Especially right now when a lot of the manufacturing industry is overloaded with the kind of the bounce back from the pandemic here. We had started several years ago, in fact, looking at or trying to gather data on why our machines were down or why they weren't running. And at the time, what we were doing was, and somebody would have a paper sheet out on the floor, the operators would say, well, the machine was down for about an hour here and about an hour here. And They would write out, I think it was this, I think it was this. And then they would miss recording times because they were busy with something else. The machines, some of them have built-in things to record different types of uptime, but it wasn't really what we were getting for. Like our lasers will record beam on time. I don't really care if the beam's on or not. If it's moving between cuts, that's still something that I would consider value add or necessary. So going through that, we had come to the realization that the data that we were gathering with the paper method was, inaccurate. We didn't have it all, and it was a lagging measure. So we'd collect them at the end of the day or the end of the week. We'd say this is what our issues were, and we can try to address those. But the moment had passed. That downtime had already occurred to whatever extent it was. There was no way to live look at that and say, oh, this machine is down because of this. That's something I can help with.
Right, in the state of reactivity, essentially.
Yep. So we had, me and another engineer here started researching, and we actually went through 10 or 11 different suppliers of, machine uptime monitoring solutions. And, we looked at, on cloud or in the cloud versus on premises, how the licensing worked, buying a piece of hardware for every machine versus more software-based solutions. Some of them didn't have a means of the operator to record why machines were down. At the end of the day, MachineMetrics was kind of at that sweet spot for us with capability and cost. It did everything we wanted to do, and the cost structure was pretty reasonable.
That's great. Now, question for you. You said that you were. I find this very interesting because I think most people, I kind of noted this before, they don't necessarily think about the automation of machine data collection or even production data as an automation, right? But in reality, it's sort of the foundational elements. What were you guys using paper and spreadsheets and whiteboards like the crazy one behind me? Is that what you guys were essentially doing previously?
Yeah, you take a permanent marker on a whiteboard, you draw out your grid, you write stuff on there, you write column headings, and then you tell people, hey, when this happens, you go here and write this. That's a lot of effort for somebody who's trying to keep the machine running to say, okay, well, it stopped. I got to take more time to go out and record this other data here in a very manual way. And then you always end up with, people who weren't remembering that. And then at the end of the day, it all enters into a spreadsheet and takes time to analyze. And so you got somebody putting time into making graphs and charts and summarizing it and saying, well, this percentage of the time was related to this, was related to material handling or, waiting for engineering or maintenance or something. And then that gets reported, say, weeks after the fact, after things have happened.
Interesting.
And so we were, the automation element of that, automatically collecting, recording that, and then being able to act on that gets us, we can have emails, text messages, the workflows you were mentioning about going out to maintenance and to operations management when machines are down, so that they can walk out and say, hey, what's happening? What can we do to get this back up? Is this something that, we need to get a tech on here? A maintenance tech over here for? Do we need to get a trucker over here? What do we need to make this happen?
Yeah, it's really interesting how many of the processes around machines can be. I was just writing an article the other day on the difference between planned and unplanned maintenance, right? And it was funny because you think about unplanned maintenance, right? It's like the most important problem, right? But many people don't realize that planned downtime, right, can be what if your plan is for 3 hours, but in reality, it doesn't actually take that long to, change over, set up a machine, right? Then, so there are huge inefficiencies that exist in the planned downtime, right? Huge opportunity for process improvement there. And then obviously, when a machine goes down critically, getting it back up and running it. is essential. And for you guys, right, my understanding is that we're investing a lot in newer machines, right, in automation.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So 10, 11 years ago when I started here, this building had between 10 and 11 CO2 lasers in there. One person per machine. Things are running fine. New technology comes out, fiber lasers. We buy one. That fiber machine, replaces 3 CO2 lasers. So 1 hour of downtime on a fiber machine is the equivalent of 3 hours of downtime on a CO2. And then you extrapolate out, okay, well, if the fiber is down for a day, it's 3 days of CO2 time we lost. So while the machines are getting better, and we're always willing to invest in the right kind of automation, new technology, if we can justify it. It's extra important to keep that new equipment running, because with that higher level of automation, higher efficiency potential, there comes a price. And it's one thing if you've got a $100,000 piece of equipment sitting on the floor that's down for a couple of days. It's another thing if you've got a $1 to $2 million piece of equipment sitting there not doing anything for a couple of days.
Sure.
It becomes a lot more important with the newer equipment to make sure that you're maximizing uptime so you're getting the benefit.
Yeah, it's interesting because what we hear is that when you have older equipment, right? It's sometimes it's just, well, there is no data to collect, right? And then sometimes when you have a more modern piece of equipment, you kind of expect that solution in some ways to say, hey, it resolved itself, but in reality, it's just even more and more data points that need to be measured and analyzed. And were there any specific points of interest that you guys were looking to collect and learn more about when you first started?
Yeah, we knew the biggest areas for us to hit at the start were lasers and robotic brake presses, and machining. All of them have tended to be bottlenecks in the shop before. So lasers, we knew that there was a lot of operator time outside of the laser running that was varying based on the parts being cut. That was taking up a lot of the operator's time, and MachineMetrics helped us track down that we had a flow issue with getting material handling to that laser in a timely manner. It also helped us determine that when the laser was very fast, but it was faster than the operator could unload on a certain thicknesses of material. So we were able to say it makes more sense to run these thicknesses of material instead of the thinner ones.
That's really interesting. So it actually I love learning more every time I talk to you. So you were essentially the data told you that there were certain materials that just allowed you to maintain a more throughput.
Yeah. So on a laser, it's got to cut a sheet and the operator has to unload a sheet, and if those times line up well, or the operator is at least as fast as the machine, the machine can always keep running. What we found is that right around 3 millimeter on one of our newer lasers, that's when the operator started to take, on average, a little longer than the machine, and we started seeing that uptime start to drop down. And that was really easy to figure out because material thickness is one of the machine health values that MachineMetrics was tracking for us. So we could look in and see, well, the machine uptime was low this day. What were we cutting? See that.
And how did I'm really interested in learning how we hear this all the time, right? That there's kind of two schools of thought, which is that, some manufacturers come to us and they're like, hey, I really want to be able to, get visibility in what's happening with my operators, right? Now, this is a really interesting use case because I wonder, previously, where was this problem being, was the blame falling on operator essentially for maybe not doing it fast enough? Or, it's interesting because you see some companies identify resistance, and not just for MachineMetrics, but for any new technology is one of their biggest barriers. What was that like for you guys?
So we never really blamed the operators, but it's difficult to, there's operators are people, and if there's not a hard number you can put to something, you have to take it with a grain of salt. So the operators said, man, if I'm running this 3mm material or less, I'm really beat by the end of the day. I have difficulty keeping up, and it was just prior to MachineMetrics. It's difficult to take the operator's word for that. We'd have to. We kind of got that laser right around the time we were implementing MachineMetrics, but prior to that, we would have had to send an engineer out there for a day or two to watch a variety of nests at that thickness or less on that piece of equipment. Whereas instead, we've already got the data. It was automatically collected. It's more of a 15, 20-minute dig through the data. Yep, that operator was right. That running that material has this effect.
It's fascinating, just for me personally, because I talked to almost every one of our customers about this specific thing, right? And first of all, it sounds like you have a great culture at MEC, which has allowed you to achieve. And there is no silver bullet, right, for any company.
Right.
How great MachineMetrics is it, or any other platform, right? It won't just solve everything, right? So it sounds like you had a great culture of communication. One thing that you guys have been able to take advantage of is something that we see all the time, which is that operators actually seem to be a treasure trove of information. If you can tap into that feedback loop and allow them to become part of the, what I call the digital factory team, right? Yeah. They can really provide unique value back to the system.
Yeah, operator engagement was very key. If they're not on board with the implementation, it will be difficult, and it was a little bit at first for us, but them putting in notes about what issues they were experiencing and us regularly meeting, acting on that data, acting on that information, making their lives easier that's a great way to get them on your side on this.
So tell me about that, that initial implementation, right? So, what was the rollout like for you guys? Was it easy? Was it challenging? Was it time consuming? Did you see results quickly? What was that like?
Yeah. So
let me move my slides on here. I forget to do that.
I think we'll probably be popping over to the next one.
I think
yeah. Okay. So, like I said, we were looking to monitor lasers, robotic brake presses, and machining centers at first. Since we've added paint lines and a couple other little pieces of equipment, and there's talk about adding more, but it's waiting on budget numbers. So we're focusing on the bottleneck areas of the shop, and I guess at the recommendation of our Lisa, our customer success manager at MachineMetrics, we kind of did a multi-phased approach. So the first thing we did was, without telling anybody on the floor, we just hooked up the monitoring system and we're just monitoring uptime. What was our baseline? Without them knowing that that number is being watched, without them having any feedback about how they're doing, what is that uptime number? And so we got a number for that. Phase 2 was, we told them that it was being monitored, and we put the tablets out there. So the tablets, twofold. One, it lets the operators put in notes about why the machine is down. And two, it lets the operators see live how they are doing for the day on uptime. And even just letting them see the data, because at this point we weren't having them log downtime. This was just showing them how they were doing throughout the day with a nice big color-coded display. That was a 5 to 10% improvement right there.
Just from the visibility.
Some of the operators said that it had turned into like a goal for them. It was a point of pride if they keep their machine showing green all day,
or if they gamification, almost like.
Yep. If it dropped it down a little and it went into the orange zone, they were working a little extra hard to try and get that back up.
It's amazing. I always find that first gain, right, is very much behavioral, right? Just seeing the data for the first time, right? And it's real-time visibility, right? Everyone sees it, right? And you almost have many of our customers that come to us have this kind of like this aha moment, right, where they, we thought we were here, turns out we're actually here, and like whether it's almost irrelevant whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether that number is, it's the numbers don't lie, right?
Yep. So, and having that operator have the ability to get direct feedback saying, after they're done chatting with their buddy about the fish they caught that weekend, they can turn around and see, oof, I'm getting close to that orange zone there. That's dangerous.
Now, do they what was that? How was that communicated, right? So like, when you guys got started, like, we find that the rollout plan is critical. And this is something that we put a lot of effort into, as you obviously know. We have customer success managers that work with our team, and we coach companies on this. But what was that like? What was the communication plan like for Mayville?
So yeah, it was very important to us as well. We talked to the operators. It was all one-on-one conversations, me, them, and their supervisor, who I had kind of briefed. And I would say, hey, we're putting this in place. This is a process-first solution. We are not looking to identify problems with any individual operators. We're looking to identify problems with the process or things surrounding the process so that we can make your job easier, so we can make your job better. Our goal is to get more parts out, more uptime. Help us by telling us what is causing you problems throughout the day.
And like, did you guys like limit that communication to a smaller group first? We get this question a lot. And just as a reminder to everybody out there, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, because I've got a lot of them, as you can tell. But like was everybody, obviously the operators were not in the initial, but was everybody else in on it? Like, what would that team look like?
Yeah, so we started on a couple machines, not all of our lasers. So only the people on the first shift, and so we run 4 shifts for the lasers. So first and second shift, we're kind of our guinea pigs on this. And we talked to them first and saw how they were doing and how they felt, kind of gauge, like, did we present this in the right way or not? And working closely with them was important. We needed to make sure that they felt like this was beneficial and that it was a good tool, because they ended up talking to the operators who hadn't yet been introduced to this. And if that message from their coworkers is bad, that's a difficult hurdle to overcome. And for the most part, we ended up on the good side of that. More people than not were pleased that they could log something and know that it was going to get looked at and something be done.
That's great. And like, I think we also get a lot of questions around, it's funny when you have a platform flexible like MachineMetrics, we get a lot of questions as to, well, who's it for, right? Obviously you guys had a primary use case, which was to, better understand your capacity or downtime, through your operators. But are there other users of MachineMetrics within the Naval organization?
Planning, scheduling wanted to access so that they could see if when their parts were running, if they were running. Maintenance has a big dashboard in there. Whenever something goes on a downtime code related to maintenance, that turns a special color on their screen.
Awesome.
Operations management, our VP and our plant manager both have a big TV screen with a dashboard there. If something is down for a significant amount of time, they are calling people and saying, what's wrong? What can we do to help?
It's really cool. And it's funny. We had a customer recently that had rolled out MachineMetrics to a number of plants, and they were using the system to remotely review operators, and they were integrating with their HR system, which I thought was really cool. Just a really unique use case that made a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
During COVID, they couldn't really go from plant to plant, right, and go into these factories. So anyways, I thought that was really interesting. And for each, it sounds like for each of these different people, there's a different value, right? And that value equates to something related to the bottom line, right? Because obviously, Michael, you don't do this just because it's cool, right? There's results here. So like,
Yep.
tell me, like, what have been the qualitative and the quantitative impact that this system has had on your organization?
Yeah. So you want to pop over to the one more? Yep. So just some simple numbers here. After implementing MachineMetrics, and we starting to have every 2-week meetings where we would review the data, where we would have the automated notifications when things are down, supervisors and maintenance watching for things to go down or stop running to invest, so that they could investigate and try to get that back up. We saw between 10 and 15% improvement in overall uptime, and then on top of that, a 15 to 20% just efficiency productivity gain.
Wow.
Which, in today's job market where everybody is hiring and it's difficult to find people, being able to, we run 4 shifts on a lot of these pieces of equipment. So that's the equivalent of almost another shift for free. That's
insane. You're right. It's all about getting more out of what you have, right?
Yep.
Like, have there been any other, like, obviously, like, previously, right? If you're running more efficiently, like, have you noticed that there have been any, like, maybe machines that you guys might have purchased, but now you didn't have to because you're getting more out of what you have today? Or even better, you're growing, right? And that means that you need to buy more equipment, right? Has that been like an experience for you?
Yeah. So, we monitor uptime on all of our lasers right now, and we have a couple different brands. And so we're able to look at those and say, based on performance, and uptime for MachineMetrics, this brand appears to be performing better than this brand. So that is something that makes it a lot easier to, show management when we're saying, why are you going with this guy? They're a little bit more expensive. I can say, well, overall, over 2 years, you're going to quadruple the return on that extra bit of money there. And then, our lasers, most of them are fed from a laser tower system. And as we're looking to expand, we have questions on, is that tower system, does that have enough capacity in terms of the moving pieces on it to feed more lasers? So actually, one of the things we did is we bought another MachineMetrics license and hooked up a monitor to that so we could track uptime on that, so that we can prove that, yes, when we get the next laser, we don't need to, worry about the capacity of the tower to feed that.
Did you hear that? Anyone out there making a claim to try to get a new machine out there? Michael just laid out the best framework to get it done, right? If you can prove it, if you can prove the value that it can bring, then there's a bottom line difference, and that's in the end like what we found, at least what I found, and it sounds like what Michael you found, the upper management seemed to really respond to.
Yeah.
And like, go ahead, please.
And no, management's concerns a lot of times are return on investment, and cash flows. So if you can, give them the numbers that they feel confident that, if they spend this money today, they're going to have that and more back within a year or two, or whatever your payback period is. Or if you can use this data to say, the path we've been going down is wrong or is bad because of these things. Here's the data to show. Any type of hard number goes a lot farther than you'd expect with the VPs.
I can imagine. I make the same case to my team. If they want software to show me the numbers, and we'll implement it.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other cool thing that we see is also, clearly, having the data makes MEC look good. Undeniably. Like, have you had any customers, suppliers like how does that help your relationship, with these organizations?
Yeah, so we are ISO IATF certified, and then several of our contract customers require that they come in and do audits every so often of us and our processes. One of the things that they ask about is how do you monitor productivity and throughput, and what it comes down to them is concerns about how are you monitoring this to make sure that you are still able to provide us parts, that you are running efficiently and all that. And every customer we've brought in and showed this to has just been, jaw to the floor. They love it. The data's live. There's workflows to automatically drive actions from other groups to try and improve uptime. The reporting is both very visually pleasing and very understandable. It's just a great platform and system to show off to the people that either our current or potential customers.
That makes me smile like the most, honestly. But not just the compliments, which we're grateful for, but the fact that like it makes you look good, right? Because we heard we were on a webinar just last week with another customer, and they were saying some of their OEMs that they supply for were starting to demand that they required that data, right?
Yep.
And the fact that they had it, right, and some of the other suppliers didn't, allowed them to win a couple large consolidated contracts. And I personally believe that the next big foray in this machine data collection analytics, sure, you can look at AI, you can look at artificial intelligence, but in reality, just supply chain visibility is going to be, as you see the reorganization of these supply chains to be more vertical, you can definitely see that being a critical foundation piece for any contract manufacturer, or OEM for that matter.
Yeah, especially right now with supply chains being stressed. Everybody wants to be monitoring as much as they can to make sure that they aren't wasting the little bit of resources that they can gather, either in manpower or material or whatever it be.
So what's next for you guys? And when I talk to my team, I'm always like, I love hearing about ROI, right? But I want to know, it's like good, you got your investment back, but what's next? What's next for Mayville? And how does your analytics journey continue from here?
Yeah, I think short term, next year and a half, we'll probably look at expanding this to cover our welding robots. We have, I think, 12 or 13 of them in house, and we'll want to start monitoring them and collecting data to see what else we can drive improvement on. We're doing some interesting things with our laser area again. We had some problems with our nitrogen supply over the winter, so we were actually we weren't gonna care about uptime, but we were gonna be using the ability of MachineMetrics to monitor machine attributes. So in this case, it would be pressure, temperature, and flow rate of the nitrogen supply that feeds our laser area, and then triggering maintenance when those values deviate outside of some acceptable parameters. We were having, when the flow rate drops low enough, that line can get contaminated with other gases, and that causes cutting issues. So we're looking for data gathering to prevent that type of quality defect.
That's awesome. And I've heard many use cases like this from other customers where they're using the platform to trigger others, for example, various fluids, for machines, like lubrication. You can essentially use MachineMetrics to trigger the lubricant, in a machine. If you pull an alarm code off the machine, and that way you never have to stop the machine to do that lubrication. It can just, be automated, triggered based on an alarm code. And then we've heard customers go even further with that, where they can build out a consumption model, right, for your various stuff. And then when, essentially the machines have run amount over a certain period of time so much, right, you can trigger, an order in another system, right? Or integrate. And I think there's some really cool potential there in the industry for, more like as a service models around, be able to automate, certain activities. And, I think that's really cool that you guys are like really have like a beautiful roadmap ahead of you guys.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, this has been awesome. I want to pause because I know that we've got some questions coming, and I don't want to steal the entire time. But this has been great, Michael. So, and maybe I'm not sure if like David, as a moderator, do you want to share some of these questions? Would you prefer that I just kind of shoot them off as they come in, because we've got a couple already?
Yeah, Graham, I have my eye on a couple of them. The first one that I thought might be interesting to hear from Michael, and maybe you too, Graham, is the idea of moving to the cloud. If that's something that worries a company, or just that data security and that type of idea.
From our perspective internally, there's not a lot of overly sensitive data, stored out there. If somebody outside the country really, cared if our laser was running or not on yesterday at 10 a.m., that's not an overly concerning thing. That being said, from the talks that we had, we don't really have any concerns about the security of the platform. One of the benefits we thought that a cloud-based platform provided is access to the data anywhere. So I can, of course, access it from inside our facility, but our VP can also check in on how things are running while laying on a beach in Bermuda. And that's the goal.
Yeah, it's funny, Michael. It's kind of funny because I would actually look at it kind of the opposite, realistically. And I was doing a speech at Aerodef a couple of years ago, and I was going to give this whole MachineMetrics spiel on X, Y, or Z, and the person who was speaking before me, which is one of the largest aerospace companies, had left their hard drive just like in the computer before I went up there, and it just triggered me to just change gears and talk about security, because realistically, the cloud. And for example, the AWS, we use an AWS virtual private cloud. It's like our multi-tenant system. Has billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of infrastructure that has been designed to support some of the largest organizations in the world against cybersecurity problems. These are literally like the data. It's not just in the air. It's actually like hosted in these underground like layers with like armed guards. And like. The question that I would ask any manufacturer concerned about the cloud would be like, well, how does your IT group stack up against Amazon, right? Because these guys are putting billions of dollars worth of security infrastructure into their platform. And then how much has your organization spent on your own individual IT servers? And what is their depth of knowledge? And Michael, you look at you and something you want to say on that.
I was just saying the other side of that is, the data that is stored in the cloud is backed up, many places. It would be almost impossible for Amazon to, have a building burn down and lose any data. It's probably stored 6 places across the world.
It's so true. The scalability, the reliability, the flexibility. That's just something that almost no company in the world, unless they're as big or as capable as an Amazon or Microsoft, could even attempt to provide. And on the MachineMetrics side, like we've really built our platform from the ground up with security in mind. So this isn't to say that security doesn't matter, right? From the physical hardware, the devices we deploy, to the software that runs on them, the way we send our data to the cloud, how the data is accessed through our cloud, and what people have access to that data. We've developed our system and the product and the policies to protect the manufacturer's data from using industry best practices. In many cases, are going above and beyond what can be accomplished with an internal IT team. And we've really gone to that next level, to the point where we work with some of the most secure companies on the planet who have the belief and even like ITAR restricted companies, what we work with all the time, because the data from MachineMetrics, is secure, and it's like Michael said also, descriptive and diagnostic data, which actually doesn't fall under ITAR, So you're looking at cycle times, setup times. You can block G code and program information. That stuff doesn't have to reach the cloud. So
Yep.
I got all excited about security. Forgive me.
Okay, so just building off that a little bit, what support is this browser based, or are these apps that people are using?
So good question. So they're not native applications, which is critical for our customers to be flexible. So they're web-based applications. So you can use iOS, Android. Many of our customers will use iPhones, iPads, or Microsoft Surface. The flexibility that's provided with a web-based platform allows us anywhere, like Michael said, at any time to with a secure login and connectivity to access that data without having to be confined to an iPhone application or an Android app or something like that. So it's all web-based platform and application driven, and they're not native applications. That require you to have certain native downloads for various platforms. Does that answer?
Can you speak to how this integrates with ERP systems?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a number of ways that MachineMetrics integrates with systems. So let me see if I can paraphrase this as easily as I can. But essentially, MachineMetrics can integrate with virtually any system, and there's a number of ways to do so. Whether it's a REST, or I'm about to speak some things that maybe people understand or don't, and I hope you forgive me. Whether it's a REST or a GraphQL API, we can integrate more natively through original code, webhooks, where you can just trigger another system through a MachineMetrics integration. A CSV import or export automation. There's a number of different ways that can be achieved. I think what's more important is really understanding what the use case actually is, right? So is it to just automate data transference to and from an ERP system? If so, it may not even require a native integration. It might just need automated CSV imports and exports, right, between the two systems. All of it is possible. It's just up to the manufacturer to determine how deep that is, and we provide a flexible system that can do it in a number of different ways.
Okay. We had one other question that came in that I wanted. Hopefully, we can answer it briefly. But Michael, did we get any pushback from operators, and how was that handled?
Yes, there were some operators who felt that this was a big brother moment, and I guess at the time we felt that communication and doing what we said we were going to do was the best way to handle that. So we made extra care. We took extra care to review any notes from that operator or any notes from that area. And after we addressed them, made sure, went back and checked in with them and said, hey, we saw that you put in a note that said that, you were running out of carts or packaging. We did this. Do you feel like that has solved the issue? And giving them the feeling that they are part of the solution, that they have, they're part of the team, and that it's not us against them, that it's all of us, trying to maximize what we can do with the equipment and the people that we have, seemed to work. It took a little while for some people, but I would say everybody is on board at this point.
Okay. Graham, did you have any other last thoughts before I bring it to a close?
When you think about it, right, you think about the future of work in the factory, right? And it's really, about upskilling, right? I mean, a lot of people, I don't this shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody here, right? That there's a lack of operators, and skilled operators, right? There's this tribal knowledge that exists in manufacturing, and as more and more people retire, what you're seeing is that knowledge is essentially being, disappearing, right? So, my opinion here, and I think Michael has done a great job of embracing this with his team, is that tools like MachineMetrics can actually be like critical for operators to upskill themselves, democratize like certain use cases to them, and learn more about the manufacturing system of continuous improvement. Because in the end, right, like you may start, like for me, in marketers, you look at like certifications, like HubSpot certification, Drift certification, all these different like tools you can know and use. And, you can see how like an operator, right, who's say like, hey, like, yeah, I know how to use a system like MachineMetrics, like, or, could be like hugely beneficial to them when they're looking, when they're looking like maybe move up the ranks, at a manufacturing facility, right? So I think it's all about the way that you communicate to your team, and because the reality is that I was on a panel recently where a number of panelists were like, "Oh, automation's not going to reduce jobs. It's not going to reduce jobs," and I didn't want to be the like kind of the one that was just willing to say the truth, but it's like automation will absolutely reduce jobs, right? But it's not the jobs that most people think about, right? It's like it's the jobs for those that like aren't essentially like can't be upskilled to like learn these new technologies, and there'll be new jobs that are created for those that are capable of doing so. So like being able to leverage like more tools and more capabilities around automation and different software are going to be critical components of that upskilling, like for the workforce. So I believe that can be really helpful and honestly like a really great way to sell this to maybe your operators. Anyways, that's just my diatribe on it.
Okay. And with that, we're going to draw this to a close. We hope that everyone found this really valuable. I learned a lot, and I appreciate you, Michael, your testimony here, and Graham for your input as well. If you have any other questions or would like more information, please feel free to get in touch with MachineMetrics directly using the contact information found in the webinar. Also, keep in mind that today's presentation has been recorded and will be available in our webinar archives at www.mmsonline.com. Also, you should be getting an email after this. All attendees will get that email. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us. You've been great, and I appreciate your good questions here. So with that, we're going to draw it to a close. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Graham. Nice to talk to you again.
You too.